Today's presentation will introduce you to some of the champions and their stories helping us along the way, and I'm going to turn it over to our trusty moderator, Tom Lynch.
Thank you so much, Kyla. I can't even tell you how excited I am about this topic. This is something that is incredibly important to me, to the organization, and I think that Kyla is bringing it home. So, my name is Tom Lynch. I'm the CIO for Cook County Government, and I'm going to be moderating today's session. In the summer of 2023, Cook County implemented a robust outreach and engagement campaign to highlight the resident voice about accessibility, devices, and digital skills. The stories and data collected from this effort then directly informed Cook County's inaugural Digital Equity Action Plan, which you have copies on your table, as well as the Digital Equity Map, which is available through our website. We will take a deeper dive into the digital equity outreach and engagement model that Cook County is implementing, meet some of its champions, learn about the plan, some projects and initiatives, and most importantly, how you can each take action. Today's panel consists of Kyla Williams-Tate, the Director of Digital Equity for Cook County, Jill Godfried-Sahoni, founder of the Circle Route Collaborative, Esteban Rodriguez, Executive Director of Corazon Community Services in Cicero, and Kimberly Harris, School Librarian for District 147 in Harvey. I welcome you all. So, Kai, let's start with you. As the inaugural Director of Digital Equity for Cook County, what was your first order of business?
So coming through the door, Lynetta said to me, "So, are you ready for this responsibility?" And I said, "Yes, share with me about my team." And she said, "What team?" "It's you." And I said, "Oh, okay, I got it." Then I met with Sochi Flores, and she said, "Yeah, I want you to meet with my team. We're gonna talk about digital equity." And when I got there, they all said, "We're so happy that you are here," and handed over a tranche of work and was like, "This is what you're going to be working on." So I'm so thankful that there was a pathway to the work that I needed to engage in. So what I discovered in that time was that Cook County has been investing in digital equity. It wasn't called digital equity 10 years ago, but we've been investing in digital inclusion, digital divide work for a long time. The county, in partnership with the South Suburban Mayors and Managers Association, as well as through some partnership with the state of Illinois, helped to identify a large gap in connectivity in the Southland and brought together a project to lay fiber and help to amplify connectivity in places and spaces that need it the most. In addition to that work that happened well over 10 years ago, prior to the pandemic, Madam President, in all of her infinite wisdom, pulled together a team of people to talk about digital equity. Advancing digital equity goals was a priority, and there was a study done and a little bit of outreach work that was done. Our Council on Digital Equity was formed, and they provided advisement and connection to organizations that helped us to really strategically think about our work and help to put forth that vision. So I had really good instructions and really good information to help me to pull together the vision. But this is a large tranche of work, so I knew that I needed some help. So I reached out to a trusted resource who is doing outreach and engagement in this space and other spaces, and Jill. I reached out to community members like Kimberly and Esteban so that we could work together and figure out how we were going to advance digital equity together.
Awesome, thank you. Jill, I understand that you helped the city of Chicago with some of its digital equity outreach and planning. So the design of some of our outreach efforts overlap with theirs, which is great for collaboration and continuity. But what were the special and different things about Cook County's digital equity outreach efforts distinct from the city's?
Thanks, Tom. And I'm delighted to be here. A couple things about Circle Root Collaborative. We believe in two main things. Equity is not just an outcome that we're striving for, but it's a process. And the equitable process that is inclusive is just as critical as the outcome. And that we must not only engage, but co-create with people and leaders and communities who are impacted to solve these community problems. If we really want to get to the root cause. And I want to just also take us back to a moment that we probably all want to forget, March 2020. At this point, many of us were working in the K-12 education space, and CPS is going 100% remote. And lots of kudos to the district officials at CPS, also a small organization, Kids First Chicago, went to parents, especially parents on the south and west side, and said, what do you need right now? The whole world is flipped on its head, what do you need? And over again, we heard internet. We learned through the data only one in 5 families did not have internet connection in their home, yet all learning was going remote. So as we've learned, we need 3 main things to achieve digital equity. We need internet, we need a device, and we also need digital literacy skills to use those 2 things. So in quick form, CPS and a bunch of partners stood up Chicago Connected. And that was a program that allowed any child on free and reduced lunch to get free internet in their home through a simple activation code. And what was so brilliant about this project was the investment in resources in community engagement. It was one thing to have a program stood up where you can have the service in your home, but if parents don't know about the program, if they don't trust the program, they're not going to sign up. So there was a collective impact effort with 25 community-based organizations and principals and teachers in the libraries to go on an awareness campaign, but also set up digital literacy programs to make sure families knew how to use the internet. Because of that program, over 100,000 families were served, thanks to folks like Esteban and other organizations in Chicago. So we had this really solid model of what we can do around digital equity in Chicago with Chicago Public Schools. We scaled that to the city, and now, to your question, Tom, about Cook County, which is a different beast working in the suburbs, because we don't have one school district to work through. We don't have one Chicago library to work through. We have over 100 municipalities. And one really fundamental piece of our community engagement plan in Cook County that has been so important is what I call a guiding team. So we pulled together 15 leaders serving, breathing, living in communities who are impacted by this issue to come around the table, including Esteban, Kimberly, and about 15 other leaders to get to know each other and build trust among each other across the county, but then also go out into their community and ask people who are impacted by this issue a few basic questions. What are the barriers that you are experiencing when it relates to digital equity? If you look at the pictures around the room, these are community conversations that folks like Esteban and Kimberly and several others were hosting in communities and asking those questions, doing deep listening, and also getting their ideas about how can we solve this together. So over the summer, we engaged nearly 300 people in these community conversations in person. We conducted a community survey that engaged over 3,000 residents, asking them questions about their experience. And all of that data, all of those stories were used to inform this beautiful work of art that Kyla has put together in the Cook County Digital Equity Plan. So this is truly a community-driven, community-informed plan that could not have happened without the work of the Digital Equity Guiding Team, which are local leaders who are leading in this space.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. Esteban, I know Corazon Community Service hosted 2 community conversations, one focused for adults and another for youth, both offered in Spanish. Language access, as well as generational differences, are key components to making sure that digital equity action covers all bases. So I'm curious, what did you hear from those participants, and was there anything that surprised you?
Thank you, Tom, and good morning, everyone. A pleasure having you all, or having me be part of this panel. There was a lot of learnings, especially in a community that's predominantly Spanish-speaking. We are a youth-based nonprofit, so naturally, we want to champion the youth voices. So we want to put them in platforms where we can hear them. Cook County can get that feedback and then come up with some policies. So we were honored to be having and hosting those spaces. There was a lot of learnings, and I think what I got the most chills throughout the entire conversations was this concept of an intergenerational workspace. In our community, for those that know the town of Cicero, predominantly of Mexican background origin, the digital divide is among the highest and the widest. That impacts workforce development, that impacts the quality of living, benefits, it includes education, it impacts all of those. Clearly, our adult population have a gap that needs to be filled and breached. We are a youth serving organization, so let's try to figure out how our youth can not only learn skills and build their resumes, but also build their own community in the meantime. So the idea of this intergenerational concept is oftentimes our youth don't have patience. That's how we translate it, but it's actually training. They don't have the training on how to provide training to their own parents. I remember myself when I was learning how to use computer, I had no patience in how to walk through a sibling that just doesn't have internet skills or digital skills. So I can just imagine that happening to our own community youth. We learned that our parents need this information. One of the biggest things that surprised me is the amount of need. Many parents just want that independency. They don't want to depend on their child to teach them how to make a transaction. They don't want to depend on somebody else, on a stranger, and make a bill or get resources from whether it's the city of Chicago or the state that can benefit their own living. So we wanted to bridge those differences, and we wanted to really emphasize on this intergenerational component to further build it up. I was fortunate to be part of the Chicago Connected initiative with Jill, and when in my previous employment, working the northwest side of Chicago, there was also a Latino serving community. But the difference is the suburb. For those that know the town of Cicero, you know the challenges that we come across on a daily basis. We have our own school district that operates its own different views and that oftentimes don't necessarily meet the need of the parents and the guardians in those communities. So we're pleasure. We have the trust component. We've been in the community for 20 years, and we feel like we're bridging that gap of digital literacy. So we're excited for this endeavor and looking forward for more.
Thank you so much. Kimberly, Kyla continues to reference, and our Digital Equity Action Plan reflects how important community anchor institutions like libraries and schools are to advancing digital equity goals and bridging the gaps that Esteban was highlighting. How do you find your way to this work and committee, and what successes and challenges are you seeing in libraries?
Okay. To piggyback on what Jill said, 2020. Actually, I started off in the library working part-time just as an additional job. And then when 2020 hit, it became my full-time job, partly because what I did was we had a grant that we wrote with the state of Illinois that we received, and we received a full upgrade of all of our computers and technology throughout the library. And the cost of our broadband service, in fact, tripled. But we soon learned that that did not necessarily mean that our connectivity improved. And so even with 2 college students at home and a high schooler, I found the same challenges with working from home. So I spent a lot of lonely nights in the library working. to get things done. And in fact, meeting Kyla, I thought she was responding to one of my many letters that I thought I sent up, letters and emails that I sent up the chain for some help to figure out why, just why. And so when I got the call to be a part of this group, it just made sense. It just made sense. And because libraries, we do play a crucial role in advancing digital equity. We offer free technology access. And a lot of times we are viewed as the source or the information source. But I don't know if you've stopped by your library anytime between now and going back to 2020, but there is a generational gap where we have tons of seniors and then we have tons of kids. So those that know what technology to buy, what technology we should use, skills is very much so needed. And so with that being said, I'm excited about being part of this group. We face things, limited funding has really prevented us from getting training opportunities because most library salaries are very, very low. So to get people with high tech skills, it's very, very hard. It really has to come on a volunteer basis. But in part with working with Kyla, even in these ground steps, we have been able to connect with other groups, work together, and I'm excited about the push to keep this going.
We're certainly glad to have you. Kyla, so you build up this team of local champions, advocates, professionals, practitioners. You've got folks that are adding energy to the work, and you've completed the first round of outreach and engagement, have a ton of data to feed from as the panel is describing. Can you share some of the highlights about the action plan?
Absolutely. So our plan is a really unique plan. It's part educational, part informational, part workbook. We have organized this work with a baseline understanding that we are trying to build our digital equity ecosystem. We heard from Jill that the city of Chicago has like the Chicago Public Libraries, the Chicago Public Schools. We don't have that kind of organization here in the suburban areas of Cook County. So we're trying to organize that by building our digital equity ecosystem. We are building that focusing on 4 cornerstones: accessibility, confidence, safety, and infrastructure. Accessibility meaning how people can access the internet and making sure that it's quality and affordable, as well as having the tools if you have special needs in reference to how you access digital skills or where you actually go for your digital skill training. Confidence. People are really lacking confidence around digital skills. Even when we show up in communities and we do a call out that we're going to be talking about digital skills, people say, well, I don't know that I'm the right person because I'm not really good on the computer. But digital skills, digital equity, digital inclusion is about people and the tools. But first, before the tools, it's the people. So we need people to have good confidence as they're navigating the internet. Safety. I tell a story all the time about my mother, will be 75 on the 16th. And she listens to all her Bible programs because Jesus knows it all. But she doesn't believe that she's on the internet. And I'm like, Mom, you are on the internet. And she's like, Jesus is protecting me. I have a barrier. But she's scared because the internet can be a really scary place if you don't have the skills and you don't understand how to navigate it. So we want to ensure that our Cook County residents have a safe journey and experience while navigating internet spaces. And then infrastructure, which Tom knows very clearly. We can build all the digital skills we want. We can make sure that all the folks have lots of confidence. But if we do not have an ecosystem of infrastructure and connectivity, affordable and quality signals so people can connect to the internet and do the things that they need to do, then we are doing a disservice to our residents. Within the plan, there are 12 impact solution recommendations. Those 12 impact solution recommendations will be attached to 12 work streams in an implementation plan that we will roll out probably in late February. So we're going to be doing a lot of activity. 2024 is the year of digital equity in Cook County, so we are going to be doing lots and lots of things to advance digital equity across our county.
Great answer, thank you. Jill, we spoke earlier about the outreach activities that started in summer of 23. What's the outlook for calendar year 24?
We're just getting started. We've done all of this engagement work. We've engaged thousands of Cook County suburban residents, and we're not just about to drop them now. We are building a movement of trusting relationships that will continue into this next phase, which is implementation, as Kyla mentioned. And so we're going to be doing this in a few ways. I talked about that guiding team, which is like the glue that holds this all together. We're not letting them go. We are inviting them to keep joining us, and we're institutionalizing a committee, a subcommittee within the county. We're affectionately known as DEAC, the Digital Equity Action Committee. So you'll be hearing more about that. And not only are we bringing along these champions, we are expanding. So we now have over 20 individuals from around suburban Cook County who will be meeting monthly over the course of 2024. And we will be doing a few things. We are going to continue to build trust across the county with each other. We are going to leverage their expertise in the community to share up with the county what we're learning and what are the barriers that we're experiencing. And we're going to take action. When funds become available, when programs become available, we will already have trusted partners in the community who can make sure members, community are aware of it, and that they can have the resources to actually take advantage. We're going to take a lot of emphasis on language access, not only with our Spanish-speaking community, but with other communities who speak languages other than English, continuing the feedback loop with community conversations. And then finally, what I think is most important is we're going to be doing a campaign to really humanize this issue using stories. I think one trend we've heard, I think, throughout the panel is digital equity. Many people don't even know what that is, but what they do know is that they need to format words on a Microsoft document to create a resume. They need to know how to submit that on an attachment to an email account they may have to get the job they need to provide for their family. So really drawing the through line between digital skills and access to life outcomes is something we're always talking about as a committee, but that we really want to make public and more transparent.
Thank you so much. Kimberly, you talked earlier about the role libraries can play, particularly in both accessibility, meaning the equipment and the connectivity being there, but I think you emphasized the skill development. I understand that there's a library project that's in scope for the implementation plan. So could you talk a bit about that?
Sure. Cook County is kicking off the Libraries as Digital Hubs project next month, in fact. And we're going to be doing some deep research and discovery about our library systems in Cook County. There are a lot of libraries in Cook County. Public libraries, law libraries, school libraries, universities. We're going to bolster collaboration and innovation and build towards sustainable funding for digital equity activities. And that sounds, but on a human level, it really is getting ourselves built up so that we can collaborate with our skills in order to help the community at large. Cook County, we have a lot of small municipalities that are surrounded by larger, and a lot of the communities that I represent, Robbins, Dixmoor, Phoenix, we're small communities, proud communities, but sometimes we get lost in the shuffle. So that connectivity is paramount to our success in being able to move forward in a new digital age.
Totally agree with you. Esteban, Corazon Community Services just reopened its free computer lab and is offering digital skill classes to your Cicero residents. You're addressing all four cornerstones of the action plan and the effort. I wonder, can you speak more about the lab?
Definitely, and that is correct. We just reopened our small but beautiful and much needed computer lab. We have been in the community of Cicero for 20 years. We initially started with a computer lab, but unfortunately we had to downsize and created it to our office space. Fortunately, through partnerships with Snipes USA and Hispanic Federation, we were able to reopen it and offer 15 stations that we're now going to provide Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. So extended hours in a bilingual setting with staffing available. We're excited for this partnership, mainly for multiple reasons. The need is there. We clearly have identified that. We have a lot of data in the town of Cicero that indicates our digital divide or gap is among the highest. We also have a lot of data that indicates our workforce or hardships in the town of Cicero is among the highest, specifically within Latino communities. So we are molding our computer lab to meet those four cornerstones that are in these blue books. And I'll talk a little bit about them from accessibility. We are a brick and mortar place, 20 years. We have a trust relationship with the community, so the community feels safe in going to spaces like these. We're open for extended hours, so they're able to join us, and sometimes even weekends. On top of accessibility, we're able to provide quality equipment, and hoping in the future we'll be able to provide devices for individuals that graduate our workforce program. So they'll be able to take home a device that not only they can continue learning and practicing, but really be more dependent on their own. We are building confidence by providing trainings. Again, through our partnership with Hispanic Federation, we are partnering in creating or implementing a curriculum called the Latino Digital Accelerator Curriculum. It's a national curriculum that merges digital literacy and workforce development, specifically tied to Latin communities. So to us, this is a perfect combination and need that our community is seeking for. We're talking about safety and security, like Kyla mentioned, and through the DEEC network, the Digital Equity Action Committee, we're building resources and tools to help further make our participants feel safe, to avoid scams, to protect their identity, and overall just feel secure when they're navigating online. I know myself still don't feel comfortable with a lot of sites that they look kind of legit at times. And the infrastructure, where for us as a grassroots organization, this is perhaps the most important because we're building future champions of this work, of the need of this work. So we're helping them understand what is it that they deserve as a community because we have been historically disinvested. So they're able to actually champion and advocate for the needs that they want. So the high speed, the high quality equipment that are within our schools, and in the community. So this is exciting. We're about to launch the program, and again through our partnership with Hispanic Federation, we were able to provide this much needed service.
Congratulations for doing it.
Thank you.
So Kyla, we've talked a lot about what's already happening, what the research is that explains it, most I think importantly, hearing some personal stories about why it matters. So I'm just wondering, how can folks get involved? What can the rest of us do to help?
Thanks, Tom. So for the leaders in this room, there is a short little survey that's included with your materials that asks you to identify yourself, your department, and any project that you have in your department that aligns with increasing accessibility, increasing confidence, increasing safety, or helping to increase or expand our infrastructure. Part of my job is not just managing and providing visioning for external parties and audiences, but also bringing us together within Cook County government and aligning us under digital equity goals and policy. So please, 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 either before you leave today or at a short time thereafter, provide us the information. We really want to connect with you and make sure that we're more aware of the projects that span our county. The other thing is that I need your voice in your networks. Please share the plan. I've provided also a one-sheeter because the plan is a little hefty, but we have a one-sheeter that talks about our 4 cornerstones and also identifies our 12 impact recommendations. People are not aware that we are working hard on this subject area and in these communities. And Cook County is large and vast, so we need your voice to help to inform our residents and our businesses and our institutions that we are working on digital equity in Cook County, and the roadmap really to how we advance digital equity together is in this action plan. The third thing I'm going to ask is we are standing up 3 subcommittees of code, and we're going to be looking for participation. So we'll be sending out some emails and doing a little bit of advertising about that. If you feel passionate about this subject area, and you should, I see your faces, you're feeling passionate about it, please join with us. We need your thought leadership. And lastly, as Jill pointed out, we are looking for digital equity stories. If you have a digital equity story or you know someone that has a good digital equity story, please connect with me. We want to capture that and start building our story core so that we can share out broadly about how we're advancing digital equity together and building our digital equity ecosystem.
Fantastic. Thank you, Kyla. And thank you to the panel. Really, really appreciate the great work that you're doing. I think we're going to take some questions from the audience.
Yes, we have a question here.
Hi, Todd Moore, Bureau of Administration. So I've seen in the news that the Affordable Connectivity Program may be losing funding from the FCC. How will that lack of funding now impact digital equity in Cook County?
Well, I can chime in on that. As a school librarian, we have in our community, because of cost and connectivity issues, about 1 in 5 households do not have internet service. That particular program specifically offers discounted service. And even as recently as our Digital Equity Inclusion Week, we were sending out that information, and people were surprised and excited about the fact that they would be able to get a service that they did not have access. Most people within our ecosystem access their internet through their phone. And you can only imagine the challenges that come along with if that's your sole source of accessing the internet. So that is a very important program, especially in the communities I serve.
Yeah, and just to build on what Kimberly is speaking about, the Affordable Connectivity Program, really, if that program goes away, we're taking away hundreds of thousands of people's access to internet, which, as we know, means jobs, healthcare, et cetera. And this is a public benefit that allows families to have $30 off their internet bill, which for many, that's a free plan. For many folks, that's a free plan. And so this would be catastrophic. I think this is going to require a lot of advocacy on every level, which is another benefit to how Kyla's approaching this work. We now have an army of people who know about this. So when we say that this is going away, we have an infrastructure to organize and advocate on a large scale. So this is a big deal and something that we all should be looking at.
I'll share a little bit. At this point, you all know that I'm a big time advocate for the town of Cicero. If this were to happen, yet another thing happening bad for Cicero, right? In this situation, and I think what best way to explain this is through a story and a good success story that I've come across. There was a mechanic during the pandemic. He lost his job. He had no digital literacy skills. He was in his mid 50s. At this point, nobody was hiring. He went through the programs and started. Recently went through programs and started learning a little bit more about digital literacy. In this situation, he learned how to sell parts now. So he now works for auto parts in the computer selling parts online. So I think this is just an example. If things were of this nature were to be removed, he works from home. So he will be removed at that point. So these are just connecting factors that go in place.
All right, we have one last question.
Hi, Lauren Pett, Office of the President. This work is so interesting, and there's such a broad scope and so many moving pieces to everything that you're doing. Can you talk a little bit about how all of this is being funded?
Good question, Lauren. Thank you. So first, I would like to say that my position, Director of Digital Equity, is a budgeted position. And I think that's important to acknowledge because it demonstrates our government's, our leadership's commitment to advancing digital equity in Cook County. This is not attached to a grant. I am part of the budget, and that means that we are here to stay, and we are a sustainable operation to help advance digital equity goals in the county. So I wanted to presence that first. The majority of my actual digital equity work is also funded through our ARPA programs. So part of my job in 2024 and beyond is to not only advocate internally for funding to ensure that we are able to keep our programming sustainable, but also to work with our partners, our philanthropy partners, our corporate partners that have certainly a stake and a voice in this work. So we are trying to build funds to help to support and sustain this work for years to come. I've been part of this work for a long time, and I know what it feels like to have momentum that's tied to a grant moment, and then the grant runs out, and then all the momentum goes away. We can't afford for our residents, our citizens of Cook County, to be disconnected from our digital economies, from the digital society. So we are advancing these efforts one way or another, and I'm going to try to find a way to keep it funded for years to come.